Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, turning 23 years old. Yes, you can now officially call me Unk because I am probably older than the average consumer on YouTube right now. I have just turned 23 years old, even though my birthday is September 7th tomorrow, but technically in Hong Kong time, it's already September 7th, which means I have just turned 23. And of course, I'm going to celebrate that by talking about Come and See, which is a Soviet film released in 1985. Now, I'm not talking about this movie because it's my birthday. I'm talking about this movie because 3 days ago, September 3rd, 2025, is officially 80 years since the official end of World War II. And I actually watched Come and See 3 months ago at the Aero Theater, but I actually didn't have time to talk about it 3 days ago because I was busy going to school. So right now I was like, oh my god, Come and See, right, I need to talk about it. So I'm going to be talking about Come and See. This is a film by L.M. Klimov. In Russian, it's called Idri и смотри, which literally means come and see. And it is actually referring to a Bible verse, which I'm going to quote right now. So it comes from chapter 6 of Book of Revelation. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast say, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him, and power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. So that's where the title Come and See came from, because Come and See has led to death and war and hunger. So I really wanted to watch this film, and I've been wanting to watch it for so many years already, but I don't want to watch Come and See on my laptop. I think this is a film so big and so destructive that I think a big screen is the only way you can truly experience the film, and I waited until Bleak Week, presented by American Cinematheque, to watch Come and See. And honestly, watching this film took a leap of faith. I was prepared. I know it's going to be traumatizing, so a lot of the violence in the film, they're traumatizing, but I knew it would be coming. But there were still so many things about Come and See that really surprised me. And at the end of the film, I was still just pummeled by it. I couldn't really talk for a few minutes. I was just traumatized, along with the main character of the film, Fyodor. So director L.M. Klimov, his wife was Larissa Shepitko, and Larissa Shepitko was also a filmmaker during the USSR, and she actually made the war film The Ascent back in 1977, 8 years before Come and See. Also a fantastic war film, also extremely traumatizing and haunting, and just a really gruesomely real film about war. And I would like to say that at this time in USSR, even though there wasn't a real war going on, there was a bit of a Cold War between USSR and the USA at that point, but people were still very much recovering from the trauma they faced from World War II. I think all of Europe, all of Asia, hell, all of the world was still recovering from the trauma that was brought about by World War II. And so near the end of the USSR days, especially when USSR became more open to art house films, which is where Tarkovsky came along, by the way, L.M. Klimov saw that and was like, you know what, I'm going to make Come and See. And Come and See is his most important film. I believe it's his last film, because he believed that after making Come and See, there is no film left in him. It is the most important thing he can say, and he's going to end it right there and then. Now, Come and See is a war film. It is about Fiora, who of course started off the film. Being a kid that he is extremely patriotic. He wants to go to war. He wants to fight for his country of Russia. He goes to war. He goes to a boot camp, and everything seems fine until he realizes that he was forced to stay in the camp and can't fight the Germans. So he felt defeated. And then the rest of the movie is just absolutely fucked. I'm gonna try not to spoil it, but at some point the camp gets bombed, and then Fiora runs away with another girl, and he kind of goes from one place to another place to another place, and having to deal with people dying of war, dying on the battlefield, people dying of hunger, dead bodies, and just a lot of death and destruction, a lot of screaming and crying, just non-stop for the rest of the film. And what really shocked me was actually the fact that the cinematography is beautiful. It's fucking gorgeous. And it reminds me a lot of Soy Cuba, which is also kind of a Soviet-Cuban film, but the way the film uses a lot of wide-angled, wide lenses, and the way the camera sort of glides along on a steady cam. The cinematography is absolutely beautiful. Even the natural light in the house in the very beginning of the film with Fiora and his mom and his sister, absolutely beautiful. And now you would ask, like, if a war film is gritty and it's supposed to be traumatizing and it's supposed to make a statement, why make a beautiful film? And honestly, I think the beauty of Come and See contrasts the contents of the film, because in Come and See, all we see is death and destruction. And to see nature being this beautiful but be completely destroyed by humanity is all the more shocking than without good cinematography. So the cinematography really brought me in. I feel like I was running along with the characters. When they're running from the gunfire, I was running along with them. It's all the more intense, all the more visceral. And then the close-ups. Holy shit. The camera in Come and See loves these big close-ups, and usually the face of the character would be just front, like right here. And they're all so absolutely intense because we have close-ups in the beginning of the film, and then we have close-ups at the end of the film. But the close-ups at the end of the film reveal the characters broken, hollowed, without humanity. And so these close-ups, they're like a punch to the gut. And they're all really, really powerful close-ups. I've never seen a close-up this powerful. I mean, this is... A lot of people in film school may, point fingers to, Joan of Arc, but I think Come and See has some of the most powerful close-ups I've ever seen in cinema. And then there's a soundscape. I think in the beginning of the film, the sound was natural, but after the bombs hit the camp, the rest of the film is nothing but screaming and crying. And the way the screaming and crying was so loud and noisy, it blends into the score of the film. And the score of the film is this drony, buzzy, oppressive white noise. And at some point in the film, you can't tell if it's the score or if it's people screaming so much. And I feel like Children of Men copied a lot in terms of both cinematography and also the sound, because Children of Men also involves a lot of crying and screaming, and the crying and the screaming actually bleeds into the music of the film. But Come and See does it in such a visceral way that it's both an audio and visual assault on you when you watch the film. Now, for the content itself, a lot of the scenes were really tough to stomach. We have the survivor scene, which is after Fiora returns to his house, and then Fiora runs off and finds a group of survivors. And even though the whole scene is just people crying and struggling for food, there's something so sort of stomach churning about just people crying and starving to death. And it's not easy to watch. And of course, we have the village massacre scene at the end, which honestly, throughout the entire film, while it's traumatizing, I wasn't really crying. I was just kind of in shock. But at the very end of the film with the village massacre, that's when I broke. I was just holding my mouth in disbelief, and I was just like, tears were coming out. And I think the main reason was that when I watched the village massacre, I can't help but think of Gaza again. And I feel like a lot of films, like last year when I watched Grave of the Fireflies, I also had the same thought. I just can't help but think of Gaza and what Israel is doing in Gaza and the West Bank. And I was just like, I just couldn't believe it, because it's happening on the screen, but it's also happening in real life. And it's so fucked that human beings are still doing this. All these deaths and all these atrocities, and it's like not enough. Apparently, people are still gonna do more and continue to do more in the future. At the very end of the film, we have this sequence where Flora was so traumatized, he sees a picture of Hitler and he just shoots at it. But every single shot at the picture of Hitler, every single shot, he reminded himself, what if I can go back in time? And so it would be Hitler, and then it would be, death and destruction, explosions in reverse. And then he starts remembering or reminding himself of, Hitler in his teen years. And then at the very end, it's the baby. And suddenly Flora couldn't pull the trigger because Hitler was just a baby. And of course, this becomes the age-old question. Would you kill baby Hitler? Would you kill a baby just to save the world? But I think the greater question is that you can't, because another innocent, cute little baby is going to grow up into a horrible dictator, a horrible mass murderer. And it's never going to stop. Like, every few years, every few decades, a new dictator, a new mass murderer is going to be born. And it's like this endless cycle of violence that I think humanity is never going to escape. So all of these scenes come together, and it's one extremely traumatizing watch. It's different from Grave of the Fireflies. I think I was crying continuously in Grave of the Fireflies, but Grave of the Fireflies is more about the struggle of two children, so it's much more personal. This one is just death and destruction in the most maximalist way. Animals literally get killed for this film, which is not okay, but it really illustrates a point. But that brings me to François Truffaut's argument, French New Wave filmmaker, film critic François Truffaut, who said that there's no such thing as a real anti-war film, because an anti-war film is always going to turn war into a spectacle for people to enjoy. It's always going to be entertainment. But I think there are two ways that could be reversed. One is that if it's not entertaining, if it's a real documentary like Shoah or something really plain like The Zone of Interest. They're not war films, they're about concentration camps, but they kind of do something similar. They do not turn death into entertainment. But I think the other way to do it is to really, yes, to admit that this war film is a film. It is a spectacle, yes, but there's so much heart and soul, and there's such a strong statement in it that despite being a film for the audience to see, you just can't help but be moved by it. So of course, the Human Condition trilogy, which I haven't watched, The Ascent, and now we have Come and See. Does Come and See fit Truffaut's argument or defy it? You decide. But personally, I do think that Come and See is one of the most powerful films ever, and I don't even know if I'll ever rewatch it. Maybe, but it is just not only a warning sign for humanity, but a documentation of humanity, a reality for humanity. So I'm giving Come and See a 10 out of 10. So have you watched? Come and see. Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more. And thanks for watching.